Alaikum. Peace to you all. My name is Saba Ahmed. I'm a law student at American University. I am here to ask you a simple question. I know that we portray Islam and all Muslims as bad, but there's 1.8 billion Muslim followers of Islam. We have 8 million plus Muslim Americans in this country, and I don't see them represented here. But my question is, how can we fight an ideological war with weapons? How can we ever end this war? The jihadist ideology that you talk about, it's an ideology. How can you ever win this thing if you don't address it ideologically?
We're going to hear an answer to that question, and then we're going to take a look at the numbers and see if they're right and what it means for us.
Great question. I am so glad you're here, and I am so glad you brought that up because it gives us an opportunity to answer. What I find so amazing is since the beginning of this panel, which we are here about Benghazi attack against our people, not one person mentioned Muslims. We are here against Islam, or we're launching war against Muslims. We are here to discuss how 4 Americans died and what our government is doing. We were not here to bash Muslims. You were the one who brought up the issue about most Muslims, not us. And since you brought it up, allow me to elaborate with my answer. There are 1.2 billion Muslims in the world today. Of course, not all of them are radicals. The majority of them are peaceful people. The radicals are estimated to be between 15 to 25%, according to all intelligence services around the world. That leaves 75% of them peaceful people. But when you look at 15 to 25% of the world Muslim population, you're looking at 180 million to 300 million people dedicated to the destruction of Western civilization. That is as big as the United States. So why should we worry about the radicals, 15 to 25%? Because it is the radicals that kill. Because it is the radicals that behead and massacre. When you look throughout history, when you look at all the lessons of history, most Germans were peaceful. Yet the Nazis drove the agenda. And as a result, 60 million people died. Almost 14 million in concentration camps. 6 million were Jews. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Russia, most Russians were peaceful as well. Yet the Russians were able to kill 20 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at China, for example, most Chinese were peaceful as well. Yet the Chinese were able to kill 70 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Japan prior to World War II, most Japanese were peaceful as well. Yet Japan was able to butcher its way across Southeast Asia, killing 12 million people, mostly killed with bayonets and shovels. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. On September 11th in the United States, we had 2.3 million Arab Muslims living in the United States. It took 19 hijackers, 19 radicals to bring America down to its knees, destroy the World Trade Center, attack the Pentagon, and kill almost 3,000 Americans that day. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. So for all our powers of reasons and us talking about moderate and peaceful Muslims, I'm glad you're here. But where are the others speaking out? And since you are the only Muslim representative, send the applause till the end. And since you're the only Muslim representative in here, you took the limelight instead of speaking about why our government, and I assume, are you an American? You're an American citizen. So as an American citizen, you sat in this room and instead of standing up and saying a question or asking something about our 4 Americans that died and what our government is doing to correct the problem, you stood there to make a point about peaceful, moderate Muslims. I wish you brought 10 with you to question about how we can hold our government responsible. It is time we take political correctness and throw it in the garbage where it belongs and stop calling it
15 to 25%. Are those numbers right? Well, this is Brigitte Gabriel, and she's been sharply criticized for these numbers as being based on bad research. But the actual situation with conservative estimates is still pretty rough. If we go with the 2013 Pew Research report, The World's Muslims, Politics, Religion, and Society, we come up with an approximate 14% of the world's Muslim population who think that suicide bombings or violence against civilians are sometimes or often justified in defense of Islam. Now, just to be clear, the 2013 report did not give a global percentage, but aggregates based on what's in the 2013 Pew report reveal this number. Now, approximately 14% is a whole lot better than 25% to be sure, but that means that in 2013, when the report was released, that was 224 million Muslims. And today, that would be something like 286 million Muslims. And just to remind you, that's 286 million Muslims who think that suicide bombings or violence against civilians are sometimes or often justified in defense of Islam. Now, if we imagine a hypothetical country with only those 286 million people in it, that would be the fourth largest country in the world, right underneath the United States. If there were a country of 286 million people who thought that way and felt that way, would that represent some kind of a fringe, or would that be something to show some concern about? But what about Christians? Well, this kind of research hasn't been done to this level on global Christianity. But from what we do have, some have estimated that the number would be something like 1 to 5% of Christians globally who think that violence in defense of Christianity is sometimes justified. Now, not only is that number a whole lot less, but those would be people calling themselves Christians who are denying what Jesus himself teaches in the New Testament. So what do we do with all of this? Well, it's pretty clear. We accept Christ and we try to reach the world's Muslim population with the message of the gospel.